Hey folks, Sylvia's here. I'm on FDR. So I'm here at the Port Hope Smuggler Cave, in case anybody's wondering. And before I actually get into my topic of the day, which you should know because there's a title to this video, I've actually had a couple of ideas for a couple of different things. Furthermore, today, that was a lot more smuggler than I was expecting. Was the day the Electoral College met to vote for Donald Trump. It was like kind of the last chance for the college to not. Well, I mean, obviously the only chance for the college to not vote for him, but the last chance for Donald Trump to effectively not become president, and that did not happen. So we have a President Donald Trump now. It's like guaranteed. Nothing I can do about it. Nothing anybody can do about it. So it's a little painful of a day for me because, as you guys know, I'm not a fan. I didn't really expect anything to happen with that, but yeah. So I do have a whole bunch of things coming in, and I did want to kind of talk about that particular topic, but that's not happening for this video because this video is actually time sensitive. So what we're here talking about today is the war on Christmas, as I believe Donald Trump just recently started talking about. I don't think there's a war in Christmas in other countries. I think this is kind of a uniquely American thing, but it might not be. I don't know. I don't spend a lot of time, watching the media in other countries because it's largely impossible. But here in America, we have this wonderful concept that we refer to as the war on Christmas. Like everything lately in our country, it's a partisan issue where Democrats shake their head and go, you guys are crazy, and conservatives and Republicans are like, there's this terrible war on Christmas. I might be taking an unlikely side on this one, though. So the first question we have to answer is there a war on Christmas? And I'm going to say that depends on what you mean by Christmas and war on. So I think we should define a couple of things. Christmas obviously being the holiday, but the holiday of Christmas has a lot of different connotations and meaning to it. So basically what Republicans are talking about when they say there's a war on Christmas, they're talking about the family and religious aspect of the holiday. This is a subset almost of another Republican thing, which is political correctness run amok, which is actually something I'm going to do a video on in the future also. Generally, though, to simplify, Republicans and conservatives feel that liberals and those with political correctness are trying to destroy the Christmas holiday and to a larger extent the traditional underpinnings of American culture. And so I mean the important thing is that they're not. I mean, they're wrong in the sense that liberals are trying to do this and it's some kind of anti-religion crusade. They're wrong on that aspect. But they're not actually wrong on the aspect of whether or not Christmas is deteriorating, and it is. But it's not because of political correctness run amok, and it's not because of some nefarious, satanic conspiracy, as the crazier aspects of some people would say. The simple fact of the matter is that over the last probably 40 years, I would say, maybe even going back further than that, but, well, I don't know. I would say since the 80s, I guess. The general bonds of society have weakened massively. The community aspect where people were like, "Oh, I'm a member of this town, and these are my neighbors," has drastically weakened. Even in my lifespan, like I remember being in elementary school, and in summertime, everybody would like go out onto their porches, and all the kids would play, and all the family members would talk, and everybody was. That's not really a thing that happens anymore. Like here, living with my grandmother, which is where I live now, we don't talk to our neighbors, any of them. Any of the people on the road, I mean, like, we know their names. I mean, my grandmother knows their names. I personally don't, because I haven't spoken to any of them. I mean, like, I'll wave to them. If they're, like, out, I'll be like, hey! But I don't, like, oh, how are the kids? I don't even know if they have kids. I don't know anything about them. I don't know what they do. I don't know if they're married. I don't know who they are. To be honest, besides the one that's directly across from me, who I know is a white guy, I don't even know what, like, race my neighbors are. For all I know, they could be green. So, I mean, like, there's definitely been a weakening of, like, community bonds in America. And not just in that sense, but, like, in a lot of different ways there has. And there's a lot of different reasons for this, and it does sort of a little bit go out of the scope of whether or not we're at war with Christmas. So I don't want to go, like, too deep into that, but I mean, like, there's definitely, that's an issue, and, a lot of it is from, like, the rise of the internet and stuff like that, because I can now get my social interaction more efficiently and effectively by sitting at my computer and going on, like, forums and, chat rooms and message boards and Reddits of things that I like. And this is part of the, like, polarization, actually, of America in, like, a political discourse, because now I can go on to forums that only consist of people who think exactly like me. This actually has a name for it, and I forget what it is right off the top of my head. But this is, like, an actual problem in like, modern democracy, actually, where I'm able to completely cut myself off from opposing ideas. And this is a problem on both sides of the spectrum. I mean, of course, everybody will say it's not, I don't have that problem. But no, you do. Everybody has this problem. Liberals, stay on their liberal message boards, and conservatives stay on their conservative message boards. And because, echo chamber is actually one of the words. Because it's like an echo chamber where you're only hearing the things that you want to hear, it, like, builds upon itself, and then you get even more extreme and extreme and extreme. Which is definitely not good, because that leads to, like, the various forms of insanity that have racked our country. Again, this is a problem on both sides. But this has led to the, like, deterioration of, like, community bonds and stuff like that. And Christmas is a community holiday to a certain extent. And even outside of our, like, community bonds weakening, our, like, familiar bonds have weakened. And, like, this is weird coming from me, because, like, I personally don't like majority of my family. And I generally, I dislike people who will support their family no matter what. Like, my cousin is a good example of that, where he's, like, he'll flip out if he finds out that somebody was, like, mistreating his younger brother. Well, like, that's cool, except he mistreats his younger brother all the time. And he's like, well, I don't care what the details are. Like, how dare they make fun of my younger brother? I'm going to flip out and go and, like, be violent. Like, I hate that mentality, because that mentality is, like, a tribal, civilized approach. But even as I say that, I still think it's a bad thing that, like, family bonds and community bonds have, like, collapsed to such an extent. And I also don't really see, like, a solution to that problem either. Like, that's just kind of the way things are now. Gotta have to learn to deal with it. By the way, so we go back to how this is, like, a war on Christmas. Well, Christmas is a like, a community thing. It's not just, like, somebody's birthday. it's a thing, you know, like everybody does its Christmas thing. Um, so like the meaning of Christmas, the community sense of Christmas is for sure falling apart, just because the overall sense of community is falling apart. Um, Also, Christmas is, I mean, society in general is becoming a little bit less like overtly religious. The church is like weakening. Its importance, I should say, in people's lives is weakening. It's no longer the like central figure of communities. It is in some communities for sure, but like overall, it's definitely like fading from prominence. Um, Now, I mean, I would personally kind of say that that's good because I'm not a big religion fan. However, there should have been something to take its place, and there wasn't. So it's leaving a like void that's causing problems, and that's not necessarily good. Um, yeah, I mean that's like for sure not good. Um, but I'm actually gonna have to kill these bandits and go get something to drink because my throat's getting all dried. I mean, it's just like the other issue is that Christmas as a holiday is becoming more commercialized too. We're focusing more on, you know, the buying of the presents, the outrageous displays of like giant trees and stuff like that, and less on what the actual like meaning of Christmas is. Um, and that's all stuff that like conservatives bring up in conversation, and they're in fact correct in that conversation. But there's more to what they say. And one of the things they hate is, you know, when schools or institutions decide to say Happy Holidays instead of Merry Christmas. First of all, get over yourself. I'm sorry, but like, if I mean, like, the difference between Merry Christmas and like Happy Holidays is the difference between like, you know, hi, how are you, and hi, good day. And if the fact that somebody said hi, good day to you instead of hi, how are you fills you with rage, you might have a little bit of an issue. There might be something wrong on your end and not necessarily on the other person's end. Um, you know, there was an issue, I think it was last year, where Starbucks made their holiday cups were just red and people were furious. Alright, you know, get over yourselves, guys. But the other thing you have to understand, though, is that Christmas is, in addition to the capitalist, like, non-religious aspect, there is a religious aspect to Christmas. And not everybody is Christian. You know, I'm personally, like, I'm not religious. I believe that's called agnostic. Um, so, I mean, like, I'm not offended by somebody being religious in front of me. I hate when people preach to me, for sure. Like, that drives me crazy. I don't want anybody trying to convert me. I don't want anybody trying to tell me that the way I live my life is wrong, because that's just obnoxious. But I mean, like, I don't have a problem with somebody else being like, I'm going to church. And I mean, I'm not going to get like offended that somebody asked me if I wanted to go with them to church. But when somebody asks me if I want to go to church with them and I say no, and then they start telling me how that means I'm going to go to hell, well, okay, I have a problem with that. But there's a difference between me, who considers myself to not have a religion, and people who have a different religion. More so than a lot of other religions, Christianity has had an issue in its history of trying to force people to join it. You know, like with missionaries and things like that. A lot of other religions are just kind of content to let people do their own thing. Like, there's not really a lot of like Buddhist missionaries going out there and entering tribal villages and being like, let me destroy your existing belief system and reteach you Buddhism. Like Christianity did. So Christians have a weird, like, historical aspect to that, which is just strange, frankly. But But like, yeah, not everybody follows Christianity's beliefs. So when you have a Buddhist or a Hindu or a Muslim or a Jew or I don't know, something even stranger out there, the strong like overtones of Christianity in Christmas is an issue. And like there isn't an argument about this with like Easter. Like when we have Easter holidays, and people of other religions are just like, I'm not partaking in your Easter celebration. Nobody flips out, but for some reason they flip out about Christmas. So I mean, I don't, and like most schools aren't getting rid of Christmas, or in the sense that it's a like thing to like celebrate. They're getting rid of the religious aspect to it. And I feel like a lot of conservatives don't necessarily get this distinction between those, and they should be getting rid of the religious aspect to it because that's the appropriate thing to do. School or community, for that matter, should not be forcing religion on children. First of all, if a parent wants to, make sure their kids follow their religion, I mean, I'm not a big fan of that, but I mean that's like the parent gets to raise their kids however they want. But school should not be doing that. Community should not be doing that. Your religion, or lack of it, is yours and your family's concern, not the community's and not schools. But like, just like Christians take their religion very seriously, so does everybody of a different religion. So like the religious aspect of like Jesus being born, and like the wise men, and the angel Gabriel talking to the three wise men, and like all that stuff, that should be left out of schools and stuff like that. I mean, there is the separation of church and state also, so I mean there's like a legal, we're not a theocracy in America, we are a democracy. Yes, the founding fathers were all Christians for the most part, and yes, they based a lot of things off of like religious ideals, but they also were very firm in that there is not a religious test to be an American, there is not a religious requirement for anything, and what's important is our laws and our system of governance, and not religion. I mean, religion has, for sure, allowed a lot of, like, evil things to take place in history, too. And I don't want to get into that topic, but it shouldn't be, like, promoted on a, like, governmental scale or anything like that. I think that's wrong, and I think most people would also agree with that. A lot of conservatives are like, I mean, alright, I don't want to, like, hit on conservatives right now. So I'm not gonna go there. But so I mean, yeah, to an extent there is the war on Christmas, in the sense that like Christmas is fading, but it's not like a liberal plot to attack it. But what I would say to conservatives is, imagine you were a foreign exchange student in Saudi Arabia, and every day they were trying to shove Islam down your throat. Like every day. For the whole month of December. They were just trying to shove Islam down your throat. Imagine how annoyed you would be in that situation. Imagine you were trying to like raise children in Saudi Arabia or Afghanistan or Turkmenistan or Iraq or Kuwait or Qatar or the United Arab Emirates, whatever, in Indonesia. Imagine you were trying to like raise your kids there, and every day people were just like talking to your children and you about how Islam's great. Would that not be the most annoying thing in the world? So no, like I don't think it's wrong that schools take the religious undertone out of Christmas. I don't think saying Happy Holidays is a huge problem, although I personally don't really see Merry Christmas as being overtly religious either. It could be. I've never thought of it that way. But taking out the, like the manger and the birth of Jesus and stuff like that from the holiday, I think is actually the correct response. And I don't think there's a... Oops, wrong thing. I don't think there's, like, a war in Christmas in that sense. I also don't think, like... It's not, like, a liberal plot. We're not trying to weaken the church. The church is weakening itself just fine. Remember, it was, like, the Catholic church that, like, you know, had priests that kept molesting children and then, you know, hiding them and stuff like that. The Catholic Church did that by itself. I don't want to hit on the Catholic Church too much, but, like, society has changed, and I don't know if there was a way for our churches and religions to, like, keep pace with that better than they currently are, but, I mean, it's possible that they could have done a better job and they just didn't for whatever reason. I mean, you know, not to say that they're, like, incompetent or something like that. Like, sometimes you're like, okay, the odds of success for this are 80%, so I'm going to go with it, and then you just get unlucky. Maybe that happened to the churches. Regardless of what happened, the influence of religion on, like, American and, like, democratic society has waned heavily for various reasons. And that's their problem to deal with. There isn't, like, a liberal plot trying to bring down religion. That's just silly. Just completely silly. So anyway, though, I mean, like, the important thing here, though, is that, like, and while, you know, I'm sure you can get on Facebook and pull up a story of some legitimately absurd situation where, you know, somebody was, like, some absurd situation happened where, I don't know, some guy said Merry Christmas and got fired from his job or something like that, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I mean, you're always going to find situations of people being idiots, and in, like, as a spoiler towards when I do talk about political correctness gone amok, it does sometimes. I mean, like, anybody can take anything too far. That's not a problem that just is unique to liberals, by the way. Conservatives have that problem also. You know, the vast majority of any group of people are pretty sane, but you have those outliers who are nuts and off their rockers. So yeah, I'm sure somewhere there was a guy who, you know, was fired or had something terrible happen to him because he was going happy Merry Christmas or something. But no, there's no war on Christmas, guys. It's the same thing every year. You know what it is, too? It's just a way for, like, the politicians to rile up their base. That's their Christmas present that politicians get. Yeah, it's Christmas time. Now we can tell our base about how their very way of life is under assault. No, it's not, guys. Get over yourselves. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, also, too, like, even if it was, does it matter? Like, is your faith in Jesus so incredibly frail that me not wanting to celebrate it causes you to have a crisis of faith? Because, again, if that's the case, you have a problem. Even if if public celebration of Christmas is outlawed in the United States. So, I mean, like, really, does it matter? You can still celebrate it in your house. You can still celebrate it with your friends. You know? Like, you can still give Christmas cards. You can still go to church on Christmas Eve or on Christmas Day. You can still have a tree up. You can still put, stockings up. You can still get the presents. It doesn't matter what other people do. Like, you know, and I'm not religious at all, but I still celebrate Christmas. In fact, I usually go to church just because that's, like, what my family wants me to do, and I figure once a year I can do that for them. I mean, I don't enjoy it, for sure. I find it incredibly boring and uncomfortable. Well, I mean, mostly just boring. So, I mean, you know, like, just, come on, guys. Christmas is supposed to be the time for, like, understanding and joy and happiness. So if you're sitting there going, other people aren't happy and joyous enough, so I'm going to fill myself with a rage and hate those people, you're doing it wrong. Sure, the dude who's like, I just want to go to work and not have to deal with this stupid holiday, he's a, like, you know, humbug Grinch, but if you're filled with rage because he's like that, you're the one breaking Christmas more than anybody else. Alright, folks, so that was a relatively short one, I guess, for me. I'm sure everybody's going to disagree with me, but whatever, that's the essence of this stuff. So, as always, like, favorite, comment, subscribe, check me out on Patreon, Twitter, and Facebook, and I will see you folks later.